Ayo, what you cooking?
Welcome to episode 3 of Lend Me a Fiver podcast, where we have conversations with people who have had successful journeys, hoping to inspire and motivate people. First things first, I want to say, make sure you subscribe to the channel, like the video if you like it, share it with your friends, family, anyone who would like to hear this message or wants to go into a career, or who just needs inspiration or some guidance. But also leave a comment. Let us know what types of careers you want to see or hear about, and we can get them on the platform. So, today's guest, Rodney Mondesir. He's a executive director at an investment bank named Nomura. It's a Japanese bank. Basically a top dog in the city of London. He started his career at Merill Lynch, and then went to Lehmann Brothers, if you've heard of that one. And most recently is at Nomura. So I want to just start by saying, I think investment banking is one of those careers that a lot of people kind of aspire to get into. Me, for one, I think I'm probably joined by many in this, I actually don't know what they do. But I think we can get into that. It's just that kind of like, I want to be an investment banker. I guess they're aware that that's a career that is quite lucrative and does well for it. You kind of do well for yourself. But what would be good to hear is what actually investment bankers do, but also how you have kind of built your career and started that journey. I think it will be great to understand that to start.
Okay, so investment banking. How why did I get into the city? I'll be 100% honest. The reason I got into the city was pure curiosity. Okay. And when I say curiosity, so that roaring 80s, Maggie was obviously everything, you know, the yuppies, the time of the yuppies.
So when you say Maggie?
Maggie Thatcher.
Okay, so for the people who
sorry
are
for those
UK based.
Sorry for those a little younger.
Was a Prime Minister in the UK.
Right, and that time there was a huge amount of growth in the UK. That is when council owners could buy their houses, and that's the beginning of the real boom of the property world in the UK.
Okay, right? So when you say boom, as in people investing in property? Or?
It was the first time that the average man on the street could own his own house en masse. Because what happened is that Maggie, through her policies, said that councils sell to council tenants, you can buy your property at a fraction of the price. Okay. All of a sudden,
and that still remains today, right?
Yes, but it was like 50-60% discount.
Wow!
Right,
wow.
50% discount on prices that are already quite suppressed. Wow. So all of a sudden, it became obtainable to your average man, and aligned with that, the UK went on an economic boom. Okay. So literally, people who bought houses in '85. By 1988, those houses were, maybe this is not exactly true, but they were hugely more valuable. Could have been double. So your average man all of a sudden went from, I own a £30,000 3-bed terrace. 5 years later, they were living in a 4-bed semi-detached in rural. So on the suburbs.
Hold on. Let's just take a moment to understand the kickstart that the people of 1985 had, because we've got a completely opposite situation.
Oh, absolutely.
Right, where people are
house
prices are inflated 3-4 times the value, and people struggle to get a deposit and have the income to afford it. So wow,
it was. So let me balance the equation relative to what people earn today. People were probably earning, I say relatively, probably I would say 30% less, but listen, you could get 100% mortgages with your eyes shut. Wow. Right? And now it's a common place where trying to get a loan is like trying to walk on water. Mm-hmm. But that wasn't the case back then. But then you were earning a lot less. Okay. A lot less. So to your initial question, how did I get into the city? So I'm setting the scene. Yeah. And part of Maggie Thatcher's legacy was there was two things that happened. One is that she created this euphoria that you can get what you want, right? It's almost like the British version of living the American dream,
okay,
right? Alongside that, in the city, what happened, we had what we call a Big Bang. That happened in the 80s, and what that essentially was some change in regulations, which meant that we had two things. You had a lot of the big American banks came over here, like en masse. And usually, prior to that, the city was just lots and lots and lots of small UK brokers, right? You know, the old trading floor. And then it went to electronic trading, what was equivalent to electronic trading in the 80s, which meant that we went to forget the whole floor. We were now trading on the phones and had an electronic screen.
So like Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah,
just to bring it into
yes,
okay,
yeah, absolutely,
okay.
Exactly. So and those those two things aligned meant that all of a sudden, what was happening in the city was in your everyday man's newspaper, Daily Mail, The Sun. They was talking about. I remember the article. 20-year-old, 24-year-old university students earning 25 grand a month.
So that was huge at the time.
What? Are you kidding me?
I'm assuming most people think, oh, what's that, right?
No, that is equivalent to today probably earning 75 grand.
Wow.
Right?
That's starting pay.
Starting pay, and you got to remember, we're talking, my God, almost 40 years ago. It wasn't a case like today where it's quite normal for young people, 20s, even 30s, to earn big money. Those days, it's 20 years before you're going to earn big money. You know, you're going to have to do it in a step-by-step format. So all of a sudden, I'm hearing, reading these young people earning ridiculous money. And it went on for a few years, and it just stoked my curiosity. But my curiosity wasn't about how do I go and earn big money. It was, how does it work?
Okay, well, which is what I'm asking.
Yeah,
now,
how does it work?
Yeah.
How does the city work? So that set something off going in the back of my brain, but I never actively sought it, but it was always going in the back of my brain. Okay. So I was working as an estate agent.
Okay, so this is your first job.
So yeah.
I think we need to rewind now.
Okay.
Let's set the tone. So were you schooled here?
So born and raised here.
Yeah.
Rodney from Peckham, the original one.
So okay, so
right.
So the original, as in the
original,
first,
the original.
First Rodney and Peckham. Yeah, okay,
I am the original.
Any other Rodney that came before this, let me know.
It's based on me.
Okay.
Well, not so much based on me, but yeah.
Cool.
Went to a comprehensive boys' school, Samuel Pepys.
In Peckham?
In Brockley.
Okay.
In Brockley, I'm South Londoner, all the way through. Mum and dad from St. Lucia, had my siblings, numerous sisters and my brother. Okay. Had a good childhood. We lived in a council place. My dad never owned a car in his life.
Yeah. Or was he just bussing it?
Bussing it. He was on the buses. He was a conductor.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But listen, I never felt ever that I missed anything.
Okay.
I had a very, very happy childhood. Enjoyed school. I was good at school. Wasn't exceptional, but I was good at school.
Do you feel like that was... Because I guess I'm just going to quickly jump. Do you think that's due to just... You don't really have the exposure like today, like in terms of...
definitely.
So today, for example, Instagram, all the kids are looking at what other children... What other kids have. Versus, I think previously you kind of don't have the idea of what other people are doing, so you're just focusing on yourself.
I totally agree, because what you can't see, to an extent, you can't reach for. Yeah. Or you can't dream about. And I couldn't agree more. All I was interested when I was young was playing football, right? It was simple. Life was very simple. Playing football, going to school, not upsetting my mum and dad, not upsetting my teachers. Life, it was easy peasy, lemon squeezy.
So, just on that then, just a quick one on social media. What's your thoughts on that then? Because it's a completely different world now. I'll
be honest with you. I am so glad that I'm not a youth in this culture of social media. Yeah. I think it's a massive burden on them. Mm-hmm. A burden that they don't even realise it's a burden. Mm-hmm. Is
that just like the keeping up the Joneses, or
to an extent, yes. I mean, my 3 children, so they're all technically adults, but they always going to be your kids. So they're 28, 25, and 20.
I'm sure they're well looked after. For the record, I've had the privilege to go to the original Rodney's premises, and he's living for sure. There's no council house now.
Well, right, but the point being, right, is that we had this conversation with them about social media, and funny, we had a conversation only this week about Instagram, and some of the rules on it, and you go out to dinner and you flash this and tell people you're there. Like, why? What? Because we grew up in areas like, I tell people my business who I want to tell, right? And the only people I'd want to tell is either my close friends and family. That's it. But today has flipped it on its head in social media. It said, no. You tell everybody, and they become your friends. They will become your friends because they'll say they like us. Hold on. They're not your friends. They don't know you. But what happened is that it's a kind of reverse of, I won't say reverse psychology, but it has psychologically reversed in our head. It's like we'll make them our friends because they'll tell us that we've got a like.
Yeah.
And obviously coming from old school, I'm saying no, they're not your friends.
Oh, I mean,
and people know that today. I know they know that, but it still makes, wow, check this, I got 100 likes.
I'm about to get a bag of unfollowers now, but yeah, my friends are my friends. People who I follow or may follow and they follow me back, if it's just an IG relationship, then that's what it is.
But at the same time, I do understand the power of it. And it has its uses, and that is incredible. Incredible. Let's just talk about people who have, via social media, gone from being nothing to something, and it could be whether it's singing, whether it's doing a whole host of things. But the medium that has got them from zero to hero has been social media. Whereas previously, the only way that would have been possible is you have to have a manager who's going to invest in you, and a company that's prepared to put money in you, and all of the pros and cons that go with that. Some people made it to their heights, not because they were the best, but because they had a lot of investment behind them. Whereas social media, if you like, is a more level playing field. So it has its positive aspects, definitely.
Okay.
But I'll still prefer not to.
Old school, yeah. I mean, I'll be honest, I prefer the old school one with the 25 grand houses. But anyway, but anyway,
but you remember you're earning $2 grand. Well,
I'm gonna need more than that. Yeah. But anyway, yeah. So if we go back to your story, so kind of just your upbringing was just kind of average, would you say?
I would say it's average.
Yeah, average and be happy. Yeah, perfect. Right. So college.
So did equivalent of GCSEs, O levels, did A levels.
High performer in terms of academics.
To be honest, I'd be honest. I did okay. I did like 7, 8 O levels, and 2 A levels. Could I have done better? Definitely. Okay. But what
were your distractions?
Basketball.
Oh wow, basketball. That's interesting.
That was my game.
To be honest, I always say if I was American, I probably could be like Jordan. No one's gonna challenge me. I'm lacking a few height.
Well, you take Jordan. I'll be Allen Iverson all day long.
Was he better? No, he's not better than Jordan though.
Listen, Allen Iverson. If you look at him, guy's incredible. Jordan is a bad dude. There's no comparison.
Start this whole thing again.
Jordan
is the greatest.
No. Listen, that's just the only person you know. If you look at Allen Iverson,
so he's not my generation. But
ask all great basketball players their top 3. Of course, Jordan would be in there. 90% of them would say Allen Iverson. And obviously,
interesting.
Allen Iverson.
I'm gonna have to. He needs a Netflix doc to bring me up to speed.
He's got one. You just haven't checked it.
Wow, that one didn't go viral. You know what I'm saying? He's lacking some fans.
Nah. Allen Iverson is
he's lacking some nights.
Unbelievable.
He's lacking some nights.
I'm not taking nothing away from Jordan, but I would prefer to be Allen Iverson.
Okay, cool. Alright, so you're playing basketball, and at that time, I assume it wasn't the most popular sport.
Oh God, no. Okay. No. I just happened to go to a school where we had the head of PE was a black guy who was good, who knew basketball, and our school just had a reputation. He would just produce these teams year after year. So I fell in love with
winning teams, yeah.
English national champions, London champions, and so I literally got apart from work colleagues, I've got 2 school of friends right? People I went to school with, and basketball.
And they're still friends today?
To today.
Amazing.
And like, walking on the street with the kids, I say, they say, who's that? I say, oh, basketball. So people I played against, and like, it's the same crew from 11. I stopped playing competitively 30s, 38, okay. 37, something like that.
Well, okay. Because you're not the tallest, right? So
no.
Can you dunk?
No. There was a point I could, now the problem, I could dunk with a tennis ball, but I didn't have big enough hand, and I needed another 2 inches to get right over it. Okay. So with a tennis ball, so I could jump real high for my height.
So for any aspiring basketball players, if he can do it, anyone can. Right?
No, I'm joking. That's the guy who doesn't even know who Allen Iverson is. Just for the record.
No, I know who he is, for sure. I know who Allen Iverson is, and I know he's a great player, just for the record. I just want to clear this up.
Yeah, right.
But I just don't think he's the level of. But obviously, I don't know. So I'm gonna abstain from this argument for now. Come back with my research papers, and then we go.
And just for the record, that is not taking anything away from MJ. He's obviously, subjectively, the greatest basketball player ever. But if I could choose who I'd want to be, I'd be Iverson.
I'm definitely watching a documentary tonight. All right, so school, academics, basketball, university.
No, didn't go to university. Wow. So got into university, and what I did is that.
Which one?
Sussex.
Okay.
I want to do science, biochemistry, is what I wanted to read.
That was just an interest, though.
Well, see, up until about 18, I wanted to be a doctor.
Okay. Wow. And what made you? What was the reason behind kind of wanting to be a doctor?
Do you know what? I wanted to be a doctor as long as I could remember. From about, I don't know, 9, 10.
Financial or helping people?
No, it wasn't financial. The doctors never made money then. They don't make money today unless you're going to be a plastic surgeon and thing. No, it was purely. It was altruistic. I wanted to help people.
Okay, cool.
That was it. And then I worked a summer at Guy's Hospital when I was about 17. Just an orderly, right? And it really brought it home to me. I put the medical fraternity on such a plateau, and I thought, if you're a doctor, you're a good person. You like to think so. You like to think so, and it's not that they're bad people, but working that summer, it made me realise that they're human beings like everybody else. Some people go into it because and doctors became, of course, very arrogant to me. Very arrogant. You know, the way they spoke to people, nurses.
So GPs or like
no, this was in Guy's Hospital.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
So and that put me off. And then I'm not going to use it as an excuse, but that put me off. And then you start getting into, do I really want to go to university for 5 years and then another 2 years? And then the reality of the life of a doctor, working God knows how many hours, and and so I slowly went off it.
Okay, so we definitely need a doctor on here just to balance that one out, but it's all good.
Yeah,
that's fair.
I'm just saying that
100%, which makes complete sense.
So and then I did Camp America when I was 18.
What is that exactly?
So Camp America, which I think was one of the greatest experiences I ever had. In the US, especially over summer holidays, they have these massive camps where people basically send their kids for 2 months.
Even globally?
Essentially for Americans, but they have counsellors who they can be US based or worldwide based, and you go there as a counsellor and you look after these kids, and in my instance I was coaching them basketball.
Okay, wow, so you were pretty good then.
So I
like my level, good.
Shut up.
No, I'm joking. No, go on.
So I did that for two seasons, one in upstate New York, and it was a phenomenal experience for me. So the one I did in upstate New York, it was how did you find out about it? I'd heard about it, and you apply through a company, and you send your resume off, and then basically they got hundreds, if not thousands, of camps all over the US.
So mentality-wise, you were a go-getter, right? You want something, you go for it.
I would say I had the mentality that there was nothing that I thought I couldn't do.
Amazing.
Now,
did you get that from Iverson or Jordan?
The reason I think I could be Iverson is because of that.
Yeah, okay.
Right. The reason I played basketball, I had no right to play basketball. I am 5'8" for the record. When I was 11, I was, and I wrote this recently. I was less than 5 foot.
Wow. But
the first time I played basketball, I literally knew this is the game I wanted to play. I did not care that everybody else were 5'7" at 11 years old. I didn't care. I was going to play basketball.
Okay, so from a pretty early age, you were pretty, like, you had that mentality of driven.
Yes,
Driven.
and I find it hard when people say that they can't do something. I said, why? Why would you say that? Now, let's be clear. I'm not suggesting that doing something means I'm prepared to work my nuts off, and that's the only criteria. What are you prepared to do? And because I knew I was prepared to, and like when I was thinking for basketball, I've got to tell you this. Technically, I was rubbish. We were all rubbish. 11 years old, we were all rubbish. Like literally, I'm able to throw the ball up 10 times to get in the ring, right? So I did a quick sort of equation in my head. So what have you got, Rodney? I thought, all right, I haven't got height. At this moment, I haven't got technical skills, but that's okay because they haven't got technical skills, but they have got height. So what can I do? So I had two things going for me. I could run like fast, and I could run fast all day. So that is exactly what I did.
Machine.
And I remember my coach, Eric Summers, he's still coaching basketball now, to this day, right? And I can still hear his voice in my ears. We had this trial when we was 11 years old, so there were like 70 of us in the first year who wanted to play basketball, and it was for 11 to 12 people. And I remember he's calling out the names, and he Mondesir, and I said, yeah. He said, you just run so much, I've just got to have you in the team. Right, cool. I don't care why you want me in the team, but I never remember him getting that. So yeah, so back to your question. Yeah, I've always had a pretty dogmatic attitude to something I wanted. So I go to Camp America, upstate New York. First time it was with social welfare, so which was predominantly black children. Okay. Loved it, absolutely. Camp is a very tough place. Some people...
What age is this, by the way, sorry?
So, how old are they? They are from 6 to...
No, what age were you?
I was 19 at the time.
Okay.
I was 19 at the time. But the kids are from 6, 7, up to 16.
How many kids?
Oh, bloody hell. The first...
Because for me, I mean, if there's too many...
No, I mean, there is... the first one, there must have been... That was a smaller camp. So there was maybe... They've got to have been, I don't know, 120, 150 kids. And you are responsible, so you have a co-counsellor, so like 2, maybe 3 of you. You're responsible for at least 10. Yes. At least 10. And when I say responsible, like, you put them to bed, you're responsible for making sure that they go to their thing. You're their mother and father.
Yeah, it's too much.
No, I loved it. I absolutely loved it.
It's too much.
No, it's funny, I saw people go there.
10 kids, they'll be driving me crazy.
I saw people come there. I remember there was this African dude who came there, and after 2 weeks he said, Rodney, I can't take this. What do you mean I can't take it? He bounced.
Yeah, he's on my same vibe.
He bounced. I said, what are you talking about? This is I couldn't believe it. I said,
he's on my same vibe.
So I never appreciated how hard it was because I reveled in it. I reveled in I was in a place I'd never been before, up in White Plains in upstate New York. It was beautiful, and
New York is a great city.
Let me tell you something. The thing, and one thing I remember, we was in such an our own world, right? So you're in this massive, it's like Centre Parks. There's no strangers can come in, and for you to get off camp, you have to have a vehicle, right? Which we had, but
I'm stuck as well. Prison, basically.
I remember Frank Bruno fought for he had this big fight. I don't know if it was a world title fight. I didn't find out the result because there was no mobile phones back then. To like 3-4 weeks afterwards. That's how cut off we were. Right. So
that's what I think this generation needs. That level of detox.
It was brilliant. So I did that for 1 year, and then I had no intention of going back. I said, when I get back, I'm going to start doing my career.
In New York or?
No, back at home.
Okay, you were happy to go back.
So I was there for a few months. And the following year I went, they used to have this fair for potential counsellors up in Kensington, South Ken. And I said, I'll just go and see my old bosses, directors, John and Claudia, that's what their names were. And so
your memories.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I went.
What's the secret to that?
No, because
you're reading off names, and I'm like, I don't know nobody.
Things that are important to you. Well, for me anyway.
Yeah, it's impressive. No, it's impressive.
So John and Claudia, I went to see them. They came over. We had a great chat, and it was wonderful to see them again a year later. And I remember I was looking. There was 2 things that attracted me. There was this picture of this other camp, because there's all these camps more around from the US at this fair. And there's this fantastic picture of this one. I was like, wow, look at that. And the second thing that attracted me, there was this really attractive woman there as well, right? So I'm looking at this picture, and she said, "Oh, you know, do you want to be interviewed?" I said, "No, I'm not going back, because I had no intention of going back." And she said, "No, let's talk." So I said, "Okay, fine." So we started talking. She said, "What did you do?" And I said, "Did this." And she said, "So how did you find it?" I said, "I thought it was great, but if I do it again, I'll do this." And I had all these ideas about if I was running the program, what I would do. And she went, "Just hang on a minute." And okay. She says, calls this guy Bob, and Bob looked like a typical American actor. And as it turns out, he was in he did adverts.
Okay.
So there was some American
in the US.
Yeah. So he had that 6'2", dark hair, chisel features, just typical American, right?
Yeah.
Bob Johnson, his name was, and Bob was the owner of that beautiful camp. It was up in Maine. This was, and it had been his father's, and so his wife.
You don't have to remember.
No name will come to me.
I probably will, based on your memory.
Right. He said, "Look, I need you to speak to this guy. And so I just started talking to him, and he said, "Look, I want you to be the counselor. I want you to be the director of basketball at my camp." I said, "Look, thanks very much, but I'm not going back." He said, "No, but I really want you to." I said, "No, I really hear you, but I don't want to." He said, "I'll tell you what we'll do." It was in February. He said, "I will give you till I need it confirmed by June the 1st. I will give you until May the 25th." And I said, "Look, I'm really, really chuffed and quite taken aback, because it was a phenomenal place." I said, "But I'm not going back." Anyway, 24th of May, I think I called him. I left a message on his voice saying, "Look, you might not remember me, Rodney, blah, 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 but I'll take up the offer." And he rang me back.
What changed your mind?
Oh, so the reason I didn't want to go back, not because I didn't enjoy it, is because I was with my girlfriend, Cordelia, who's now my wife. And I decided I didn't want to be away for another 4 months. And so she kept saying to me, "You really want to go? Go. You really want to go? Go." And I'm like, no, I don't want to go.
Just sort of, wait, actually, I feel like this is a bit of a segue. So you met your
when I was 19.
wife when you were 19.
Yeah. So
see, this is what we long for, man. This is why it's Instagram messing this world up, man.
I'm telling you, you lot, because
I don't even know how many years of marriage is that.
30 this year.
30 years of marriage. I mean, this is a round of applause moment. You're a hero.
It's funny. I was talking to Dominic, and he said that the problem is we've got too much choice, right?
I don't personally.
We've got too much choice. No, I'm not saying it is, but that's what this thing does to you, right? Anyway, so I accept the offer, and I go back to the US, and I'll never forget it. So this place now, I have gone from one extreme to the next. Social housing kids, black. I'm now gone to Maine, ultra rich.
Did she join?
Did who join?
Claudia?
Oh, no. Cordelia, it's not her thing. This is your thing. Go and do your thing.
Okay.
I said, okay, fine, thank you. So I am now counselling ultra rich kids, like millionaires kids, up in Maine, and no surprise, not a black face in sight. Not a black child. And I am the only black counsellor. There were 90 counsellors. This place is like 2-3 times the size of the one I did in upstate New York. And the other thing that always I remember, I got off this coach, right? So all the counsellors got off this coach, and her name always came to me. Bob and not Keely. Bob and his wife. They kind of went through the crowd and like, "Hey Rodney, hey Rodney." And everybody looked at me and said, "Why is he making such a big fuss for you?" And to be honest, I was like, okay, is it because I'm the only black guy or what? Anyway, I sucked it up, right? And again, it was a phenomenal experience. Yep. It was a great experience. And the net result of it is that I came to conclusion. So 1 year I went with the poorest kids in the US, and the next year I went with the richest kids in the US. Kids are just kids.
Of course.
They were virtually the same. Yeah. They had the same anxieties, the same issues, and it was just a great experience. So fast forward on to my story. So I came back to the UK. What did I want to do? Well, actually the only other interest I had was that I was interested in cars.
Okay.
And to fund my student lifestyle.
Cars as in like supercars, vintage cars?
No, cars that just actually started and went.
Okay.
And drove.
Fair enough.
Vintage.
See, we're spoiled now.
No,
for
you
sure. We're like,
vintage. No,
oh, we want a Lambo.
No.
I just wanted to go.
So, I used to buy cars, do a little bit, to sell them, right, all the time. And they said,
As when you say to like repair them?
yeah, repair them. Outside my mum's house.
How did you learn?
See, this is the other thing. As I told you, my attitude is like, first, I don't like not knowing things, and secondly, if somebody else can do it, I can do it. So my first car was so bad, Triumph Dolomite, right?
I don't know what that is.
NUL 404 was the registration, right? It was look it up. Oh, it was a bad car in its day.
Look, don't worry about it.
Right? Let me tell you, I bought this car from East London. Right, that was a problem. It didn't get back over the bridge.
What?
Right?
When you bought it?
No, it didn't get me home. Didn't get me home.
That's what?
No, didn't get me home. And
the car you bought didn't get you
didn't get me home. And to be honest, I was so.
I can't believe
when
what I'll be calling ignorance today.
Ignorance is bliss. I thought it's normal, right? Remember, my dad never had a car, so I had no experience of car. My brother-in-law had a car, but you know, I didn't live with him. So I used to. My car used to break down every 3 weeks. So there was a local guy, George, bless him. George, he was the mechanic who always did his thing outside his house. So George knew my mum. So I said, George, look, the car's not working. He said, all right. I said, bring it. And he'd do stuff. I said, so what are you doing? He said, oh, you've got to do the point to do this. And that's how I started to learn. So
people were teaching you.
So George would do it. I'd look what he did, why he did it. So, you know, a little bit. And then I started buying Haynes manual. And then so I thought, you know what? Let me try this thing. And it started to work. Yeah, okay. So you start build up your knowledge base. But George was the first person to start teaching me stuff. And so then got a bit more confident. I started buying and selling myself.
Okay, cool. So you're a car salesman.
So yeah, car dealer. So then I came back from States, and when I started doing more elaborate things, the bigger, you know, I wanted cars needed respray. I had to take it to this local garage of mine. This other guy named Peter. When I came back, Peter...
Did you have your own garage or?
No.
Okay.
I told you I stood outside my mum's house.
Oh, okay, what?
Peter had his own garage.
Okay.
So when I needed a car, needed respray or something, welding that I didn't know how to weld at the time, he would do it.
When are you getting customers? Word of mouth?
No. I wasn't having customers. I was buying the cars, my own cars, repairing them, then selling them.
On just like...
Loots. You don't even know what loot is, right?
I was going to say,
equivalent of autos traders and them kind of things. I was selling them, right?
Cool, yeah, okay.
So I didn't have it for customers. I wasn't doing customer work at that point. And then what was I saying? So Peter, when I came back, unfortunately he was dying, and he said, Rodney, do you want to buy the garage? I'm like, it was on such a whim. But Cordelia said, I think it's a good idea. So the boss said it's a good idea. I said, let's roll with it. So it was, again, not a lot of money.
Is that happy wife, happy life?
Exactly, 100%.
I've heard this before.
100%.
I need to master this.
You better. Let me tell you, you better.
You better.
So I bought the garage, and overnight, I was 21 at the time. Yeah, I had my own business, and I had 4 employees, all middle-aged men.
When you say employees, they basically were happy to... Oh, they already came with the business.
They came with the business.
Oh, amazing.
So it's amazing. But let me tell you something.
You got labour.
Sometimes you just got to jump in, and I jumped in, and boy, was it turbulent.
Well, okay.
But you survive.
Yeah.
And I would say, from a business perspective, what I learned in the 4 years of having my little backstreet garage trumps anything I could have learned in the city.
Oh wow! How many years?
4 years I had it.
So 4 years. Wow, that's a graft.
Yeah, 4 years.
Was it profitable?
No.
You were just like staying afloat.
Just staying afloat.
Okay.
I mean, I worked my arse off, but I learned so many invaluable lessons there.
With customers or just like life?
Oh, with customers, with what servicing really is, with what stress really is. No, seriously. It's so funny because I've been in the city 30 years and so many people say to me, it must be stressful. I'm like, no, not really. No, and they say, well, what do you mean? And some people misconstrued that as being, you're not really serious about it. I said, no, let's be clear. Stress is, and I remember this, on a Thursday, knowing I've got 4 people's wages to pay tomorrow, all family men who have worked their ass off for me, and let's say I need £1,500, and right now I've got £500. Stress is like, what am I going to do? I can't look at these men in the face and tell them, boy, you know what?
Have you had to do that?
No, thank God, because let me tell you, that man upstairs always look after me.
100%.
You know how many times it would be on a Thursday morning or Wednesday morning, I think, oh my God, and then the car comes down the road, somebody says, oh, I heard you do a good job, can you respray? I goes, yeah, but I need a £500 deposit. And they go, yeah, great.
You pay.
Boom. And next one comes down, wow,
Yeah,
done.
Okay.
So by the grace of God, I've always, never, ever, ever had an occasion where I couldn't pay my guys. But for me, that was stress. That was stress.
Okay, so wow, so you were a car dealer. How do you become how do you get into the city?
Right. So
like, this is an interesting point.
So 4 years, I decided I've had enough of the car game, enough of being up to my eyeball in dirt and mess. It's been a great experience, but I want to move on. And plus, I was getting married. And
expensive wedding, eh?
bless it, my wife, I ain't ashamed to say, she put 90% of the cost. Right, she was an optician.
Oh wow!
She always says that I was the best trade she made. Right, but it was a long-term future plan she was going for. So I said I need to put something to this wedding. So I sold the garage. You know, not for.
You sold the money. Basically, the only income you had to get married.
But I told you, I've always had innate confidence in myself.
Wow. This is love, people.
And
if your guy ain't selling his business to get married.
No, so I sold it, and I looked in the Evening Standard for jobs, and I remember looking down, and one said lettings negotiator. Oh, what the hell is that? And I said, okay, you need to chat a little bit. Fine, it's cool. I can do that, right? So I got the job. It was with a company called City Lets, which maybe still be going, down in the Docklands. Now this was in 1990. The Docklands still had cranes all over the place, right? It was their building it. And I was at City Lets for a year, and I did good, did well out of it. But I also knew after 6-7 months, this ain't for me long term. But it got me over that hump. I got the money for my wedding and all, etc. Now being in the Docklands, obviously I got into a lot of contact with city folk.
Yep.
And I can tell you, the moment this particular gentleman walked through the door...
To let a property?
He wanted to rent a property. Subconsciously, I targeted him.
Okay. So networking is key here.
I think networking is key, but what I would... So, when I tell you the rest of the story, I think people may say you were lucky, and I would say yes, but let me be clear on what my definition of luck is. My definition of luck is when opportunity meets preparation. So, was it an opportunity that Tony Woods walked through the door then? Absolutely. Was I prepared to squeeze the hell out of that opportunity? Absolutely. Now, I would argue that most people get opportunities. A lot of us just let it go by. Right? And when we say so-and-so was lucky, yes, I had an opportunity, but the luck was only come to fruition because of the preparation.
I'll put it down to blessing versus luck. Anyway,
well,
as each
you can call it a blessing, but you still need to do something to take that blessing to the hill. So Tony was a East End boy. He was a senior guy at a company called Smith Newcourt, and he was very cocky, and it was that cockiness that I identified with. And let me tell you, just to set the scene. So he walks in the office, and he's a tall guy, blonde. All right, mate. All this kind of, yeah, I'm all right. How are you? Cool. And he says, so we talk about what he wants, and he has got a Sierra Cosworth Sapphire. Now that you may not think nothing of that today, but equivalent in cars, that is like, let's put it like, there's so many great cars today, but what is the baddest car you can think right now?
Right now.
Not talking like.
Not super car.
Not Ferrari.
Okay.
Not Ferrari, like a Mercedes AMG, something like that.
Yeah.
Right. So he's got let's say equivalent of that, right? I have got a Renault 5, which is equivalent today of
Corsa or something.
Yeah, Vauxhall Corsa. That right, something like that. So I am telling this dude, okay, let's just go in my car. And I'm dying to go in his, but I'm not going to let him know.
Yes.
I'm not going to let him know. So he's like, no, I'm not being funny, mate. Do you want to go in my car? So I said to him, no, what, do you have a problem with going in my car? Right? And he's like, so he gets a little bit embarrassed. And I'm saying, so I said, okay, fine. If that's what you're going to be, I'll go in your car. But now the reason why it's important to tell you that is because I knew he was an arrogant guy. And I needed to bring him down a peg or two and let him know that he's not going to walk all over me. So me and this guy get like house on fire. I'm showing him properties at 9 o'clock at night, and he makes the comment, "Shit, I wish you could work for me." And I said, "Well, what do you do?" And he said, "I'm a director at stockbrokers." I said, "Cool, well then, give me a job." No, I swear to God. No, I swear to God. I swear to God.
He's like, well, put your money in your mouth.
So he says, "Okay, send me your CV." And I said, "Don't bullshit me." And he said, no, straight up, send me a CV. Let me tell you something. I didn't send it in. He comes back, so I rent him a property.
He came back.
So I rent him a property, and he comes back about 4 or 5 months later, and he says, "Listen, Rod, you know, I want to move because this guy, anyway, another story. He wants to move, but I want you to rent me a property. But you never sent me your CV." I said, "To be honest, I thought you was bullshitting me." And he went, "No, send me it." I did. That was the beginning of my city career.
He literally got you the job then.
He got me the job. I started at Smith New Court in 1991.
As a...
I was an operations settlements clerk.
And he was the director, so...
He was the director. No, he was a smart guy. He was in charge of the whole operations team.
Okay.
Now, I didn't even know what the hell I was doing.
So did you come in with a bit of favour? Was he kind of...
So, it was quite interesting because I knew Woodsy, as they call him. Everybody like, is he his boy? And that was a similar thing to what happened when I went to Camp America. Because Bob Johnson made such a fuss over me, like, is he Bob Johnson's boy? And so, you know, there was people who definitely thought that, but then after a few months, I was my own person, right? They knew that. But Tony and I stayed friends, but I also knew what I liked about the city was that it was pretty objective, I should say, not in terms of if you were good. People don't need to like you; they just need to respect you.
Yep.
They don't need to like you. And if
you're
you're
still the same today.
Yeah, yes, but today it's for good reasons. You have more protection, right? You have more protection. Back then it was objective. Like if you made money, they're not doing nothing to you, right? They're not doing nothing to you.
You do what the hell you want.
Right, do what you want. Now,
Wolf of Wall Street.
literally. Let me tell you something. I can tell you some stories, right? But literally,
I kind of want them stories.
Literally. And so I was good. I started in operations, and let me see, 2 years. Then I started into trading, and then Merill Lynch took us over in 1994. So 2 years later. Smith New Court was the number one UK stockbroker.
Oh, wow, okay.
I mean, when I say we had like 1,000 people we had offices in Hong Kong, offices in New York, and things. We used to be the building at Farringdon, still there, right? And
Plumtree Court?
No. It's you know where Farringdon Station is on the corner. It was a grey marble, still there. It's like a wedge shape.
Okay, yeah,
that was Smith New Court's building.
Wow.
What was I going to say? So yeah, and when Merrill's, again, this was sort of expansion of the Big Bang that I told you.
So this is a US company, Merill Lynch.
Oh, this is Merill Lynch, the big dog.
Yeah.
Merill Lynch. They wanted to get into European trading, and Smith New Court being the number one stockbroker, it was a great purchase. And so I started working officially for Merrill's 94, 95, and was with them till 2003.
Then joined Lehman's.
Then joined Lehman's.
Because
say Lehman's, man. It's Lehman's. Lehman's,
no, who cares? They're not around anymore.
No, don't. Let me tell you. Let me tell you, right? Lehman's was so really funny. I was saying to a friend the other day, I spent 13 years at Merrill's. What have I been now?
At what level were you then?
At Merrill's, I got to vice president, vice president, vice director, whatever they call it.
Okay. So
VP, vice president.
So I don't put it down to luck when you make your way up.
No.
You
When I say the city is objective, is like people who stay in the city, it's not luck, and people who move up in the city, it's not luck. Yeah. They have to have done something. You could be lucky to get opportunity to get in, but what's going to make you stay and make you progress is not luck.
Of course.
Right. So set that scene. But what I was going to say is that I spent a similar time at Nomura, but the 4 years I spent with Lehman's was without doubt the most impactful.
Okay.
It was a great company, and it was I became locally sort of like nobody had heard Lehmann Brothers before we went down. All of a sudden, my neighbours, they invited me to dinner. Oh my God, this is Rodney. He works at Lehmann Brothers, and it's like I was this like sort of little star, and I'm like It was the biggest shock. People think, oh, you must have done. No idea. I was on my anniversary trip when it happened. But it also, for me, for my career, was probably one of the best things.
So you were there when it crashed?
100%.
How did that feel for you?
100%. I was there. I told you.
Was that real stress?
No. Listen,
That's how you know he had money in the bank.
No, nothing to do with that. I can tell you why it wasn't stress. For a couple of reasons. One is that I never have any doubt. The only thing I need to do is make sure that my family is taken care of. Now, I know me, if I have to, I can go and do manual job. If I have to go and fill up shares in Sainsbury's, I'll fill up shares in Sainsbury's. But I'm confident, I'm happy to do that, and I'm confident I can get another job in the city, right? Whatever, if I have to do so I never had any doubt that I would sing, but it worked out really well. It was bizarre. Let me tell you. So we were on September the 15th. Is when Lehman's went down. September 15th is my anniversary, and me and Cordita always go...
On the day?
Yeah, me and Cordita always go away for our anniversary. So
and literally, it was like, shut off. That's the day it went.
So September the 15th was a Monday. Me and Cordita went away from the Friday, and I'm returning back to England on the Wednesday. So on the Friday, our company was valued at, per share, it was something like $2. And the whole rumour is that, boy, Merrill's is going to go down and we're going to be taken over by, I can't remember who, but we're going to get taken over by somebody. But the rumour was that Merrill's is going to go down, right? So I'm like, cool. I've gone about my business later, boys. Then the Monday, the news, in fact, when I'm away, I don't look at my phone, don't look at nothing, right? But we heard, oh, Lehman's has gone down. Like, what do you mean Lehman's has gone down? So what happened is, as the story comes out now, Hank Paulson, who was the Secretary of State, I think at the time, the US, he's an ex-Goldman. His boy, John Thain, was head of Merill Lynch. So he saved his boy. He saved his boy, and it's clear. And Dick Fuld, who was the head of Lehman's, who was a very cantankerous character, and he was always outside the circle, let him go. That's what they did, right? So they saved Merrill's, burned up Lehman's. And so when I got back on the Wednesday, walking, imagine, Lehman's was one of the top 4 investment banks in the world. I left on Friday. On Wednesday, I've come in and it's like, what? Everybody was in casuals, and these are the days when you went shirt and tie every day. And it was, this may seem bizarre, but it was almost like a jovial atmosphere. Because all of a sudden there was no hierarchy, and everybody was saying, listen, don't sign anything on the dotted line. I've got a mate here who wants that team. I've got this, that. So it was all like trying to help each other. And what you also got to remember, because Lehman's was the first and Lehman's was so well known, we were up in bright lights. Everybody's up for sale. So let me tell you something. Barclays, who were one of our competitors, they set up a tent outside the Lehman's building, and no, this is true, and said, come here, sign, you got 3 months contract. Everything, you got 3 months. So some people who needed that certainty signed straight away. I need to know that when my next mortgage payment, because let me tell you, not Arthur Anderson, who Pricewaterhouse were the auditors, right? Oh no boy, right? Check that. So I said to my boss at the time, Angie, I said, oh, so when she said, oh, Rod, like, we're done. That's what I remember. She told me on the phone. I said, okay, cool. In my head, stupidly, I'm thinking, where is that? Got my redundancy. I got this, that, whatever. I'm cool. So then she called back about an hour later. I remember I was having breakfast at the Hilton Villa Mora. That's where me and Cordilla were, right? So she said, oh yeah, by the way, and then she said, I'm not sure if we're going to get paid this month. I said, what are you talking about? I said, so all of a sudden I'm thinking, you've gone down, there's no redundancy. That's good. She goes, because what happened, the US had taken the money that the European arm had. That's another story. So I'm like, oh, okay. So I didn't know where my next paycheck was coming from, right? But I thought, you know what? I'm in Portugal, let me enjoy myself. Nothing I can worry about it. So I didn't worry about it. Got back on the Wednesday, as I said, and I was fortunately part of a very successful business and quite unique business still in the city, the high frequency trading arm. And Lehman's was one of the top there. So all of a sudden we had all these other companies. Oh yeah, Credit Suisse, Jefferies. Yeah, we want to take the team. And I remember Credit Suisse in particular just took that piss with the offer. Right, I'm like, forget that rubbish. So, and then at the same time, the senior management at Lehman's was saying, there's so many suitors looking to buy the business as a whole. Barclays was one of them, and they had 5, and then they cut it down to 3, and then cut it down to 2. And you know, they really, some good deals.
Okay.
And as it turned out, the British government blocked Barclays from buying the UK arm, and Barclays bought the US arm of Lehman's,
Okay.
and Nomura bought the European arm.
Okay.
So all of a sudden, my colleagues were working in the US were working for Barclays, and I was working for Nomura, and the rest is history.
And then you just kind of, I guess, worked your way further up the.
Yeah, so I became an executive director at Nomura 2-3 years later.
Okay.
Been ever since.
Awesome. So investment banking.
Mm-hmm.
What does that actually mean? What is it? What do you do?
So investment banking is a multitude of things. It's a multitude of things, right?
Give me this.
And I think one of the things that people need to understand about investment banking, if you say you're an investment banker, right, in strictest terms, an investment banker is somebody who does mergers and acquisitions, right?
When you say does, they have a company who wants to sell and they find a buyer.
So somebody may come to them and say, let's give an example. Let's say Vodafone, right? Sometimes Vodafone management may come to them and say, we're looking to make an acquisition in the space. Do your due diligence, find out what would fit, and you know Vodafone will say what they're looking for, and so they'll look at all the competitors out there, their peers, and maybe smaller companies, and put the deal together. Now, in doing that, I'm making
and say advertise. Would you like to buy?
No. It's there's a lot of work involved in it in terms of, first of all, structurally does it work, and then there's a lot of legality in terms of how would we look to buy that? Would we look to buy it with cash? Would we look to buy it with shares? And it gets far more and more complex. And then you've got both sides you have to negotiate with, right? So that is strictly what an investment banker is, okay. Right? But when we say you're in the investment banking world, there are subdivisions of it.
To bring that big puzzle together.
Well, no, subdivisions of. Not strictly related to that. So how can I put it? So let me give you an example. So in the investment banking world is a matter of trading on. It doesn't have to be equities. It could be equities, the futures market, the options market. What do that trading does? It's for pensioners, for pension arms, for insurance companies. That is what gives us our pensions. This is what fuels the world economy. And there's so many different aspects of it. You can be strictly a trader.
So when you say you give your pension and they actually invest it to make more money?
So you give your pension. You give your pension money, or even governments, right, to, I don't know, AXA, right? AXA will then have, within AXA, they will give it out to certain stockbrokers to say, right, invest.
They're gambling with our money, basically.
Of course it's a gamble. It's all a gamble.
So they could lose it all.
And that's why when the stock markets go down, your pensions go down.
Wow. See, I don't read the T&Cs on that.
But historically, stock markets always go up. Historically. But it doesn't mean they don't have blips. They have blips, but the general trend is up.
And I guess they're paid a percentage for when it goes up, the investment banking companies.
Oh, everybody takes their little bit along the way.
Okay.
Everybody takes their bit. Everybody takes their bit. And there's so many, and one of the things I'd like to bring forward is that there are so many roles within an investment bank. You don't have to be strictly an investment banker, as I've said. You can be a lawyer, you can be a technologist, right? You can be an operations specialist, and each of those areas can be very lucrative,
okay.
Right? But there's different skill sets required.
Okay, cool. All right, so that is, it sounds like an exciting career for sure.
It definitely
no, it doesn't sound like there's a dull day.
No 2 days are the same.
I love that. Okay. All right, so if people want to become an investment banker, what do they do?
So the first thing I would say is that if you are interested in, let's not use the term investment banker, let's say you want to work in investment banking, right? Because I said there's so many different roles, is to try and get some, whether it's talking to somebody, or if you can get a work experience, or preferably even an internship, to give you real life, day-to-day, what is entail. And usually, most of the internships that are around now, what they do is that they move you from, you spend 2 weeks in one department, and so you get a breadth of experience as to what the different areas do. And so you start to realise, I like this, I like legal, I like compliance, whoever likes compliance.
So would you recommend like university now? Is that a requirement?
Yeah, unfortunately, it's not unfortunate. the getting in the way I did is, I wouldn't say impossible, but very, very difficult. So university is generally the way forward now. And the thing about it, you are now competing globally.
Okay.
You know, you got to remember that London is one of the two preeminent financial centers of the world. So, you know, when I started, it was, you know, the most exotic person was somebody from bloody Newcastle, right? Now, India, Africa, you name it, everywhere, Chinese, the top students are competing to be working in London. So that is who you're competing with.
Okay, fair enough. And so what would you say, kind of given that, because your journey's been amazing for sure, what would you say the biggest challenge you faced is? Whether you're as a mechanic or as a banker?
Oh, bloody hell. That's a good one. Biggest challenge. Biggest challenge.
Because we know it wasn't Lehman's going under.
No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. Definitely wasn't that. Do you know what? I don't know. It's a very good question.
We can come back to it.
Yeah, and the reason why I'm struggling with giving you an answer is because, for me, I always think I'll get over it. I'll always think I'll get through it somehow. I don't.
It's a bit of an untouchable mindset, basically.
I don't have a clear. If somebody said to me how, I don't know, but I believe I'll get through it. Amazing. So anytime something has occurred, I've never had any doubt I'll get through it.
It's amazing.
And part of that is, I think, because, you know, I fortunately have a great relationship with my wife, and so she's a source of strength and support. So I've never thought we won't get through it. So
fair.
Yeah,
it's a good answer. All right. So, in terms of like just a step away now, how do you relax and switch off? Where do you go?
So for me, two things that I like to do are love physical fitness, gym.
Biceps are me.
Talking about the thing I love about it is the competition. Now my wife will say, "Oh my God, you're so competitive." I'm like, "But hang on a minute, I am competitive, but the person I'm competing with always is myself." Mm-hmm. Now, if there's somebody, let's say I'm in a kettlebells class who is pushing slightly more weights, oh yeah, I'm going to try and beat him. But even when I have beaten him, I'm going to still try and do more because I'm competing with myself. Okay. So that's one is the gym, and I like all forms of gym, and the other is DIY.
Wow, so you're an IKEA man.
I said DIY. We're talking about. I'm talking about building. I want to build a house. My wife won't let me build a house.
I insulted you. You're not about the IKEA man. All right. So what do you? So in terms of like your current industry, how do you continue to learn and grow?
Well, the industry is definitely becoming more automated. So what I would say to anybody is that having I wouldn't say you have to love it, but you have to definitely have an appreciation of technology. 100%. Technology. So just learning the tech. Yeah, just being familiar, and if you have some sort of light inkling to it, then you are definitely going to be a step above. Now, they're saying that traders, and I think it's appropriate, have to be able to do some sort of programming. Traders.
Okay, cool. And so, what would you say? What would you wish you knew when you started, like in terms of your first job? Is there anything that you wish you'd known?
Yeah. I think there's one. I tend not to regret things, but there's one thing that I would, if I could, I would do better, and that's manage my career. And what I mean by that is that, and it's funny because, thank God, my son is the opposite. He's so good at managing his career. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that is I always felt if I just worked hard, the right things would happen. And it was a bit of a naive perspective. And it took me a few years of Merill Lynch. Every year the bonus comes around and, you think you're going to get X and you get X minus 5. And they say, oh, but it was a really hard year, you didn't do so well. Okay. And I just took it. Mm-hmm. And then the next year. And there's always something, but nothing to do with me. And I think I should have been much more strategic and stringent with I should have look after manage my career much more carefully than I did. Okay. And that's one thing I would definitely say to anybody. Is that, and that doesn't mean you've got to temper it. That doesn't mean you be impatient. It doesn't mean if you don't get the promotion or the bonus one year that you jump ship. Mm-hmm. But it means you have to weigh up everything. But sometimes that may mean that is what you have to do.
Okay. What's the best piece of advice you've received? Period.
The best piece of advice that'd probably been from my mum and dad.
Okay. What was that?
I know it sounds a bit cliche-ish, but literally, I don't know anybody who's ever achieved anything without hard work.
That's right.
Never.
Tell them simple.
Yeah, it is
Works.
simple.
I mean, and that's it's clear. And as you're an investment banker, I think you're probably most knowledgeable in this field. So, what are the best pieces of investments you've made as an individual?
That's real easy.
Okay, go on.
That's real easy.
What's that?
And don't go. But
No.
my wife is my best investment I've ever made.
Wow.
She's definitely the best investment I've ever made. So people make
As an investment of time.
investment everything because the funny thing is I'm in finance, but she takes care of the finances.
Mm-hmm.
And my wife is she's an optician. She doesn't like anything to do with the financial world, but she has this great way of thinking which has stood us in great stead. So without shadow of a doubt, she's the best investment I ever made.
Oh, that's pretty deep. And informal. So I think we need to take some notes on that because... Anyway, so... Alright, so as part of this podcast, we have a quick fire, lend me a fiver questions, right? You've got 10 seconds to answer each question, right? So don't dilly-dally. It's just the first thing that comes to your head.
Boom, okay.
I know, like, hold on, no, just fire it out. I said I was going to invest in a buzzer. I haven't done that yet, so here we go. So, you ready?
Go ahead.
One thing you can't live without.
My wife.
This is real love, by the way, for the record. One thing you need to be successful.
Fitness.
Oh, okay. Is it just generally gym, exercise?
Yeah, exercise.
Okay. One thing that brings you happiness.
Oh, my children.
If you had one wish, what would it be?
I need an RS5 convertible. That's what I need.
you probably get that.
Yeah, but I always go. The problem is I always say I can spend it on doing something else, so I keep putting it back.
Okay, so then technically it's not. Oh yeah. I guess it's a wish in terms of like you just have it for free.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
I'm willing to accept.
Okay. One thing you would advise a younger version of you.
Yeah. Be prepared to manage your career better. Yeah, that's what I would say.
Okay. So, if there are any kind of aspiring listeners or watchers who want to be an investment banker or whatever, is there any way they can connect with you or anyone you may know that's open to like mentoring or giving a bit?
Look, I'm very happy to not just share my experience, but give my opinion and as to what to help essentially anybody who wants to get into this world, because I think one of the things is, when I was both at Nomura and Lehman's, I used to run graduate program schemes for both university students and high school students. And I used to say to them, when I used to do the programs, first of all, I wanted it to be real. Mm-hmm. So people used to say to me, I have to be wicked. I said, you want to understand what investment banking is? You be in the office at 7:30 and we're not going to leave till 5:36. And so I would make them do that, and I can't do that today because everybody's now got this, you can only let them do so many hours. But that's high school kids. That's what I used to do. Mm-hmm. So no, you want to experience it, and what you need to know is that people get big money, but they also do big work, right? It's not all about Wall Street with your feet up on the desk, right?
So not like the movies, no?
Sometimes, not always. Not always.
We do need some of those stories.
So the point being, and the point I wanted to make is that I always just say to them, it's equally valuable if after this period you think this is great, this is what I want to do, or actually this is not what I want to do. Both of them are equally valuable. Okay. Because I think part of the problem is that when we're young, we think we want to go down this road, and it can be for legit reasons, and then you might go half and think, actually, no, that's not me, I want to do this. So knowing what you don't want, sort of, you can put that aside and now focus on potential things that you do want. So that is one of the things why I say it's really great value if they can get an experience to either enhance what they want to do or know that this is not the road that they want to go down.
Okay, so I'll put on some information for them to connect with you. We've got in a few seconds though, could you I think it would be useful just to the wildest story, the city story you've got? The wildest though. Just like just the conclusion.
The wildest.
The wildest. Okay. Like Wolf of Wall Street.
Okay.
Give us
clear.
I'm talking like coke off like.
No. I can tell you the wildest. Right, the wildest. So
no names. I even know your memory.
I won't tell you what company I was working at the time, right? But it was a trading group, and it was, and I just joined it, and we were open outcry team, meaning that what we would do, we would stand up and shout, "I want this." So it was all loud and brash and all the rest of it. I think the first day, or certainly the first week. This is 100% the truth. There was this guy who will remain nameless, and so we're talking. This is early 90s. You could not do this today, but what happened is that if you made a bad trade, you'd have to do a forfeit. So this guy made a bad trade, and the boss of the area said to him, "Right, you need to do some press ups."
Okay.
Yeah, no problem, because the guy he said it to was a buff guy, no problem. He said, no. When you do your press up, your todger has got to be going into a cup full of water. This is in a public area.
Naked?
Not naked, just had to have it out. And every time he did a press up, he had to go into...
With everybody watching?
Yes.
What is this wild world?
This is truth.
So Wolf of Wall Street is a real film.
Yes, and let me tell you, let me tell you the conclusion of this. Unfortunately, one of the younger guys there was telling a story to his parents that evening, whose dad was a top solicitor. he kicked off, and the long story is that the director of the whole area, which was a really successful team, they had to kick his ass out. They paid him off, but because of that,
Yeah.
But yeah, that was probably one of the wildest.
So that film is wild for sure, and it sounds like it's reflective of real life.
Oh, definitely at the time.
Okay,
definitely at the time.
All right. So last thing, you got a fiver on you?
You know what? Normally I would. Normally I would. No, listen, I ain't even got my contact, man. I ain't got contact. All I got is my pension money. That's look.
What's he got in him?
£3.
I can't accept this. Did you know what? I need a card machine. But anyway, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure having you. I think there's a lot of insightful information about how people can grow and drive and have that drive to kind of push, and hard work, I think, is a key message. Thank you for your time.
Pleasure. Absolute pleasure.
And subscribe, share, especially as I think investment banking is a world that everybody is like really curious about and wants to go into. So make sure you tune in and get a real life insight into the journey. Till next time.
Thank you.
Love.